The killing of Jamal Khashoggi put the spotlight on Saudi Arabia, particularly its young Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Last year, he toured the U.S., meeting with business titans, tech giants and Hollywood stars, building himself up as a reformer trying to modernize his country. But his implication in Khashoggi's murder has tarnished that carefully crafted persona. Is that damage irreversible? And is the Crown Prince truly a reformer? Will his critics be proven right that his authoritarianism will eventually win out? To discuss this, joining me now from London is Saad al Fagih, a Saudi dissident who heads the movement for Islamic reform in Arabia. Hello, Saad. Thank you for joining me on Straight Talk. Good to have you here. So since the murder of Khashoggi, no one has been held accountable. So you and the dissidents like you, do you feel more threatened than before?
It's an ironic answer going to be because the eyes are focused on Mohammed bin Salman, and because he wants to distance himself from incident, and because he wants to prove that he is innocent, he would intend to avoid harming anybody for at least some period. But having said that, the personality of Mohammed bin Salman does not work in a logical way. He is almost diagnosed by many people as psychopath, who does not calculate his actions and who lives himself in a very narcissistic way and does not care about the consequences. So logically, we are supposed to be safer than before, but keeping Mohammed bin Salman identity and personality in perspective, we
Yes.
should be more cautious.
Yes, very ironic. So do you believe the heinous murder of Khashoggi tarnished the Crown Prince's image in Saudi Arabia? And what does the royal family think of him?
On the level of the public are aware of the despotism, the oppressive nature of Mohammed bin Salman, because killing Khashoggi was not the first thing he did. He started the war in Yemen, the blockade on Qatar, the arrest of thousands and thousands of people, religious scholars, thinkers, writers, businessmen, lawyers, economists.
Is there a resentment among the Saudi elites for his leadership?
If you mean resentment, theoretical resentment, people are talking between themselves and expressing themselves in fake names on the internet, like Twitter and Facebook. Yes, there is a huge resentment. But if you mean public, open resentment, there is no room for resentment in Saudi Arabia. So on the level of the public, yes, there has been refusal of Mohammed bin Salman even before Khashoggi, but because all the world media has been focusing on Jamal Khashoggi, his aura has collapsed inside the country. That's why people have remembered all his crimes before and put them together with the crime of Khashoggi.
But I believe he is also quite popular among young Saudis because he eats some social restrictions and granted women some rights. Are those just cosmetic steps?
Some journalists, some Western journalists, keep repeating that without any evidence. Actually, we conducted on Twitter, we conducted our own survey, and hardly 20% of people support Mohammed bin Salman. And even those 20% are electronic bots on Twitter who are very artificial. So if you conduct a real survey on the Saudi streets, very safe survey, you will hardly find 5% of people supporting Mohammed bin Salman. So this is an unfounded claim by Western journalists.
So what could you tell us about how much of an influence does he have and what kind of power he exercises?
Inside the country, he is running the country on his own. Usually, the royal family used to run the country in a consensus. They will respect each other. They will at least pretend to be consulting each other. Mohammed bin Salman is ignoring, not only ignoring, he's actually crushing and humiliating the rest of the royal family. He's imprisoning them, he was firing them, he giving them away, he is confiscating their money, and he is relying on people outside the royal family like Saad al Fagih, who has been involved in this incident, and the other person, Turki al-Sheikh, who have been given much stronger authority than the royal family. So the royal family itself is also angry with Mohammed bin Salman. But again, this the experience of Mohammed bin Salman has proved that the royal family again proved to be weak, fragmented, negative, and a piece of failure. They cannot do anything to him, despite he's being young and has come just out of the blue.
So what do you make of Mohammed bin Salman's image abroad? Because, I mean, international community, particularly the US and some European countries, loved him and treated him as a Hollywood star. Only after Khashoggi's murder, we saw some European countries imposing arms sanctions on Saudi Arabia, but the US kept selling arms to that country. So does it make any difference?
Mohammed bin Salman's image was converted from a prestige in making relations with him into a liability. Whoever considers making a relation with him, he will feel embarrassed now. People try to distance themselves from Mohammed bin Salman. Now, the incident of Jamal Khashoggi has opened the Pandora box. People went back and looked into the Yemen war carefully and found it to be disaster. Looked back into a Qatar blockade and discovered to be disaster. Not disaster in the human rights sense, but disaster in the Western countries' interest sense. They don't care about the human rights. They don't bother human rights. I mean, they have seen huge problems with human rights in Syria and in Egypt. They don't bother about them. And even they do not bother about human rights in Saudi Arabia before Khashoggi. But because the incident of Khashoggi was hitting in the middle of the international law standards, they moved and they discovered that Mohammed bin Salman is dangerous to their own interests.
So Saad, given the latest developments in the region, Mohammed bin Salman has softened his tone against Iran, and he said he doesn't want war in the region. He also agreed to an impartial ceasefire in Yemen, where tens of thousands of people were killed under Saudi-led air campaign. What do you make of his foreign policy now? Is he going a little bit low profile now?
Mohammed bin Salman does not have a clear strategy. He does not know what he is doing. He is driven by his emotions and instinct rather than ration and proper logic. He's very erratic. He jumps into decisions which he never consults proper consultants. I mean, he thought about selling Aramco and he found himself incapable of doing things, and he keep insisting that he's capable of selling it. It's impossible to sell Aramco. It's impossible to defeat the Houthis. It's impossible to win a war like blockade of Qatar. He just out of the blue imprisoned a real prime minister who's in the job of prime minister like Al-Hariri. So he is doing a lot of erratic, illogical behavior. So, what he is doing to Iran is worthless, because the problem is between Iran and USA. It's not between him and Iran.
Yes.
Iran is under very severe siege, and it is they are twisting. They're trying to force America to remove the siege by attacking Saudi Arabia.
So do you believe these mistakes and this horrendous incident taught him a lesson? Can he change in the future? Or if he continues to go unchecked, what kind of an impact it would have on Saudi Arabia's future?
This sort of personalities never learn. They don't learn from mistakes. Now, only 2 months ago, he made a huge mistake by attacking the legitimate government in Yemen, which has been sponsored by him. How on earth you support and sponsor a government and call it legitimate government, and you, with the Emiratis, you attack it in Aden and destroy their their army in favor of the separatists. Now,
Yes.
number one. Number two, he and Trump are two abnormal personalities, and they will definitely bring the area into disaster and either a conflict with Iran or a big problem with Yemen or even a problem inside the country. So we are heading into disaster somehow because of the behavior, unless somebody interfere and remove him.
Saad al Fagih, thank you very much for joining me on Straight Talk. Appreciated your time.
Thank you.